are Boo's real parents? We're gonna find out in this video, and you won't believe how good this is. So one of the things that have been missing from Monsters, Inc. was finding out who Boo's real parents were, and they never talk about it. However, there is a theory that is one of the best I've ever heard of, with a lot of proof to back it up. And make sure you stay till the end of the video for the biggest reveal of all time. So first, we need to establish that Boo's real name is Mary Gibbs. You see her name at the top of one of her drawings in the movie, which is also the same name as the real-life voice actress. But before we get into the main theory of who her real parents were, we have to get into this mini theory that honestly will explain it all. So we're gonna go ahead and establish that Boo is actually a super, as in a super from The Incredibles. Now you may be wondering, a super? But trust me, I got proof. Throughout the film, we actually see her demonstrate abilities to teleport. For example, take a look at this scene in which Boo teleports multiple times. At one point, Sully actually puts Boo in her room, closes the door, turns around, and finds her standing in front of him with no time for her to slip back out. And she also somehow got onto Sully's back after he left her room. But this isn't even the only time that this happens, as during the bathroom scene, you can see her in a stall and then literally teleport to a different spot in the bathroom, literally in an instant. I mean, this obviously has to mean that she has superpowers, am I right? It definitely can't be the continuity error of the story. But let's take it a step further. As we know in The Incredibles, it's quite clear that a couple with superpowers, like Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, will have children who also have superpowers, like Dash, Violet, and Jack Jack. So if Boo is a super, then her parents must also be supers, or at least one of them. But the real question is, who are they? Well, before we can actually make an assumption of who her parents are, or even get close, we have to decide when Monsters, Inc. actually takes place in the human world. This means we must find out the exact year that Boo is actually alive as a kid. And the best way to figure this out is that there are actually clues around her room and around the human world that they go into that can help us figure out this exact date. In the bedrooms of multiple children, we can see vintage Disneyland posters. And given that all of these old Disney posters are hanging in the walls of multiple children's bedrooms, it's likely that the movie takes place in 1955, the year that Disneyland first opened. Also, Woody's Roundup aired in the early 1950s, meaning that it would be very popular with children, which is why Boo actually has a Jessie doll in her bedroom. And if Boo is 2 years old in 1955, that means she was born in 1953. It's the little details in these animations that get me all the freaking time, but actually tell the real story. Now let's take a deep dive into the Incredibles side, as we know that the film takes place in 1962, as this is the date that is seen on Bob's newspaper that he reads. Monday, May 16th, 1962. Unless he just happens to be reading some old news, let's just assume this is the year. So who was old enough to be Boo's mother in the 1950s? I mean, it definitely couldn't have been Elastigirl because they didn't even have a fourth child, and she wasn't actually that old. So the only other character that really comes to mind is Edna Mode. I mean, in 1953, she would have been old enough to give birth to a child. However, in Incredibles 2, she says that she was never afflicted with children. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she never gave birth to a child, but it does mean that she may have never raised one. And let's be honest, giving away a child is definitely something that Edna would do, given how focused on her career she is, as she doesn't just design super suits, she also designs clothes for supermodels. But let's take a listen at actually what Edna says in The Incredibles. Men at Robert's age are often unstable, prone to weakness. That's actually a pretty weird quote from someone who isn't in a relationship. So I feel like it is safe to assume that in the past, she had dated someone near Robert's age who was unstable and didn't want the burden of raising a child. She also states that she is not a baby person, which is why she would give the baby away. Now, it's unlikely that Edna is a super because she doesn't show any superpowers, but in order for her child Boo, or Mary Gibbs, to have teleportation powers, she had to have done something with a super. Ooh, now things are getting spicy! But who could it have been? Well, as we take a look through the directory that she has on almost every superhero ever, there's plenty of men that she could have ended up with. But if you take a deeper look into each of these supermen, the one that makes the most sense was Meta Man. And the reason why is if you take a look at his powers, you can actually see he has teleportation powers. And if you look under his personality, you can see that he is indecisive and deeply committed to hero work, meaning that he could be a perfect candidate for Boo's dad, as he would be unstable and would be too committed to hero work work to raise a child, which would mean that Boo's parents are actually Edna Mode and Metaman. But honestly, that isn't even the biggest reveal, because who was Boo's parents during the events of Monsters Inc? Let's keep investigating. Edna Mode and Metaman were too committed to the work that they had to give Boo up for adoption because neither wanted to raise a child. But who did they give Boo to? Well, let's look at the No Capes monologue that Edna talks about in The Incredibles. When she is saying she wanted to design a suit with a cape, she first brings up Thunderhead, who she describes as good with kids. Why would she say that Thunderhead was good with kids, giving him a short description despite not describing any of the other supers in her monologue? Well, it's very likely that Edna and Metaman gave Boo to Thunderhead as he was great with kids. But that's not all. If you look at his NSA file, take a closer look at what it says under personality. It actually says he is an adopted single father of 5 children and raises them with his roommate Scott. And if that wasn't proof enough, we also know that Thunderhead knew Edna and Metaman as they both attended Bob and Helen's wedding. But there's actually a lot more to the story, as Boo actually supposedly grows up to become the witch in Brave. I don't know exactly how timelines work, but that is another theory for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go check out this video because YouTube recommended it to you and they know what you like. As well as check out this playlist because why not? You're gonna enjoy it. And until the next video, as I always say, stay nerdy, stay geeky, and I will see you guys at the movies. Bye-bye.